When 10-year-old Sophie accidentally blurted out, "Uncle Ben," Mike felt his world crack. His wife Kate had been hiding a secret, but he was in no hurry to get angry. Can the deceived man uncover the truth and regain his dignity without losing his family? Find out how this drama, with shocking twists and turns, unfolds. The words slipped out of Sophie's mouth like a spark in a dry forest. "Mom was with Uncle Ben in the park," she said, giggling over her spaghetti at dinner. Mike froze, his fork halfway to his mouth. Kate's face tightened, her laugh too quick, too sharp, as she changed the subject to Sophie's soccer practice. Mike, 35, a sports store manager in Portland, Oregon, felt a knot twist in his gut. Uncle Ben, Kate's co-worker? The air in their cozy suburban home turned heavy, and Mike's instinct screamed that something was wrong. He didn't confront her. Not yet. Mike was the kind of guy who coached his kid's soccer team every Saturday, who showed up early to every game with a cooler of snacks for the team. He wasn't about to let a vague comment unravel him without proof. But Sophie's words stuck, replaying in his mind as he cleared the table. Kate, 33, a marketing coordinator, had been distant lately, late nights at work, vague excuses about team meetings, and a phone that was always face down. Mike pushed the thought aside, but it clawed back when he saw her slip out for a quick errand after dinner, her car keys jingling too eagerly. The next morning, while Kate was in the shower, Mike checked their family tracking app, not out of habit but suspicion. Her location showed her at a coffee shop downtown yesterday, not the office she'd claimed. His heart thudded. He didn't want to be that guy, the paranoid husband, but Sophie's innocent comment and Kate's nervous deflection were pieces of a puzzle he couldn't ignore. He needed answers. Mike started small. He asked Sophie casually about her day at the park while driving her to school. The 10-year-old, oblivious to the weight of her words, said she'd seen Mom with Uncle Ben near the swings when she was with her friend Mia. They were talking all serious, Sophie added, then switched to chattering about her new sneakers. Mike's grip tightened on the steering wheel. Liam, his 7-year-old son, was quieter in the back seat, focused on his action figure. Mike didn't press further. He didn't want the kids caught in whatever this was. That evening, Mike followed Kate. She'd said she was meeting a friend for drinks, but when he drove by the bar she named, her car wasn't there. Instead, he spotted it in a hotel parking lot across town. His stomach churned as he parked at a distance, watching. Kate stepped out, her stride quick, and met a man, Ben, he recognized from a company picnic last summer. They didn't touch, but their familiarity was unmistakable, the kind that comes from shared secrets. Mike snapped a photo with his phone, his hands shaking but his resolve hardening. Back home, he didn't sleep. He sat at the kitchen table, the photo glaring from his phone. He could confront her now, let the anger spill, but that wasn't Mike. He was methodical, a planner. If Kate was cheating, he'd prove it beyond doubt, not just for himself, but for Sophie and Liam. He opened his laptop and started digging. He found Ben's LinkedIn, then his wife, Abby's profile. Abby, a nurse, had posted recently about trust being everything. Mike hesitated, then sent her a message. "Can we talk? It's about our spouses." He didn't expect a reply, but within an hour, Abby responded, "Yes." Name the place. They met the next day at a quiet diner outside Portland. Abby, 34, looked exhausted but composed, her hands wrapped around a coffee mug. She didn't waste time. "I've suspected Ben for months," she said, her voice low. "He's always working late, but I found a hotel receipt in his jacket." Mike shared Sophie's comment and the photo from the parking lot. Abby's jaw tightened as she showed him her own evidence, a credit card statement with charges for dinners she never ate. They were two strangers bound by the same betrayal, and in that moment, Mike felt less alone. Abby suggested they pool their evidence. "If we're doing this," she said, "we do it smart. No scenes, no fights, just the truth." Mike agreed. They spent the next week coordinating. Mike tracked Kate's movements through the app, noting every late meeting that ended at the same hotel. Abby found deleted texts on Ben's old phone, vague but damning. "Miss you already." They exchanged findings daily, their messages a mix of strategy and shared pain. Mike felt a spark of something new, not just anger but purpose. He wasn't just a betrayed husband. He was taking control. By the end of the week, they had enough photos, receipts, timestamps. Mike met with a lawyer who drafted divorce papers but advised holding off until Kate was confronted. Abby, meanwhile, was ready to enter marriage too. They planned a move, not a screaming match, but something calculated to expose Kate and Ben without dragging the kids into a mess. Mike proposed a surprise dinner for Kate at an upscale restaurant downtown, knowing Ben would be there with her. Abby would show up with friends, ready to call out Ben in public. It was risky, but it was legal, and it would force the truth into the open. As Mike drove to the restaurant that Friday night, his hand steady on the wheel, he thought of Sophie and Liam. This wasn't just about him anymore. It was about showing them that lies have consequences, that trust matters. He glanced at his phone, where Abby's last message read, "Ready. Let's do this." The knot in his gut was still there, but now it felt like fuel. Kate had no idea what was coming. Kate laughed too loudly at Ben's joke in the restaurant, unaware that Mike was watching from across the street. His heart pounded, not with rage, but with the cold clarity of a man who'd already lost everything. Tonight, he and Abby would expose their spouse's affair in a way that left no room for lies. The trap was set, and as Mike stepped toward the restaurant, he knew there was no turning back. The plan had come together faster than Mike expected. After a week of gathering evidence, hotel receipts, photos, and Ben's deleted texts, he and Abby had enough to bury their spouses. Mike, 35, a Portland sports store manager, had spent days wrestling with how to confront Kate without destroying their kids, Sophie, 10, and Liam, 7. Abby, Ben's wife, shared his resolve to keep things clean but devastating. Their strategy, a public yet controlled exposure at an upscale downtown restaurant where Kate and Ben thought they were safe. Mike had lured Kate there with a lie about a surprise date night, saying he'd meet her after a work call. In truth, he was coordinating with Abby, who'd arrive with 2 friends to bump into Ben and Kate. The setup was simple but brutal. Catch them off guard, reveal the affair in front of witnesses, and let the truth do the damage. Mike's lawyer had the divorce papers ready, but he needed Kate to face the consequences first. As he crossed the street, his phone buzzed with Abby's text. In position, there at a corner table. Inside, the restaurant hummed with chatter and clinking glasses. Mike slipped in, staying out of sight near the bar, his eyes locked on Kate and Ben. They sat close, their hands brushing as they shared a dessert. Mike's stomach twisted, but he stayed focused. Abby entered with her friends, her stride confident, but her eyes scanning. She spotted Ben and waved, her voice carrying just enough to draw attention. "Ben, what are you doing here?" she called, loud enough for nearby tables to turn. Ben froze, his spoon clattering against the plate. Kate's smile vanished as Abby approached, her friends trailing behind. "And Kate? Wow, small world," Abby said, her tone dripping with mock surprise. Mike stepped forward now, his presence like a shadow, falling over the table. Kate's eyes widened, darting between him and Ben. "Mike, what's going on?" She stammered, her voice thin. "You tell me," Mike said, his voice low but steady. He pulled out his phone and slid it across the table, the screen showing a photo of them in the hotel parking lot. Abby added her own evidence, tossing a printed credit card statement onto the table. "Dinners, hotels, all while you lied to us," she said to Ben, who shrank in his seat. The restaurant went quiet, diners craning to watch. Kate tried to speak, but Mike cut her off. "Don't. I know everything. Sophie saw you with him in the park." Kate's face crumpled at the mention of their daughter. "Mike, please, let's talk at home," she begged, but he shook his head. "We're done talking. I've got divorce papers waiting. Sign them, or this goes to court, and the kids hear it all." Ben mumbled an apology to Abby, trying to stand, but she blocked his path. "You're not running from this," she said, her voice sharp. Her friends, briefed on the plan, stood firm, ensuring he stayed put. The manager approached, sensing the tension, but Mike raised a hand. "We're leaving. Just needed to clear the air." He turned to Kate, his gaze unflinching. "You've got until tomorrow to decide how this ends." He walked out, Abby following, leaving Kate and Ben under the weight of staring eyes. Outside, Mike leaned against his car, his breath uneven. Abby touched his arm. "We did it," she said. "Now what?" Mike didn't answer right away. The confrontation had gone as planned, but the victory fell hollow. He drove home, the kids already asleep, unaware of the storm brewing. Kate didn't come back that night. The next morning, she showed up, eyes red, begging to explain. "It was a mistake," she said, pacing the living room. "Ben means nothing. I'll cut him off, I swear." Mike listened, arms crossed, but her words rang empty. "You chose this," he said. "You chose him over us. Over Sophie and Liam." Kate's pleas turned desperate. She mentioned the kids, how they needed their mom, but Mike stopped her. "They need truth, not lies. Sophie's already asking why you're never home." He handed her the divorce papers, already signed by him. "Sign, or I file for full custody. Your call." Kate stared at the papers, trembling, but didn't sign. "I need time," she whispered, then left. Mike wasn't done. He met Abby again, this time planned their next move. Abby had kicked Ben out, but he was still dodging accountability, claiming it was just a fling. They decided to escalate. Abby would report Ben's misuse of company funds for their hotel stays to his boss, a move that could cost him his job. Mike, meanwhile, focused on shielding Sophie and Liam. He sat them down, explaining in simple terms that mom and dad might live apart soon. Sophie's eyes welled up, but she nodded. Liam clutched his action figure, silent. That night, Mike got a call from an unknown number. It was Kate's sister, Jenna, who'd heard about the restaurant scene. "She's falling apart, Mike," Jenna said. "Give her a chance." Mike's jaw tightened. She had years of chances. She chose Ben. He hung up, but doubt crept in. Was he too harsh? No, he told himself. Kate's choices broke their family, not his. Abby texted him a photo of Ben moving out of their house, his car packed with boxes. "One down," she wrote. Mike felt a grim satisfaction, but knew the real fight was ahead. Kate hadn't signed the papers, and he sensed she'd try to manipulate her way back. As he tucked Sophie and Liam into bed, Sophie whispered, "Is Mom coming back?" Mike kissed her forehead. "We'll be okay, kiddo. I promise." But as he closed their door, he wondered how deep this betrayal would cut before it was over. Kate stood at Mike's door, clutching in signed divorce papers, her voice breaking as she begged for forgiveness. But Mike, heart-hardened by her betrayal, saw through her tears. Tonight, the truth would hit harder than any argument, as a new ally and a shocking twist threatened to unravel Kate's lies for good. The battle for his kids and his dignity was about to ignite. Mike, 35, a Portland sports store manager, had already exposed Kate's affair with Ben in a calculated restaurant showdown, alongside Ben's wife, Abby. The evidence, photos, receipts, and Sophie's innocent observation of Kate with Uncle Ben in the park had left Kate cornered. Yet, she refused to sign the divorce papers, clinging to the hope of salvaging their family. Mike wasn't buying it. His focus was on Sophie, 10, and Liam, 7, who were starting to sense the fracture in their home. The kids' questions, Sophie's quiet, "Why is Mom always gone?" and Liam's clinginess, fueled Mike's resolve to end this cleanly. Kate's visit that morning was a desperate performance. "I ended it with Ben," she insisted, pacing in front of Mike. "We can fix this for the kids." Mike leaned against the kitchen counter, unmoved. "You didn't end it until you got caught," he said. "And the kids deserve better than your lies." He pointed to the papers. "Sign, or I push for full custody." Kate hesitated, then stormed out, leaving the documents behind. Mike knew she was stalling, likely plotting her next move. Abby called an hour later with news. She'd reported Ben's misuse of company funds for their hotel stays to his employer, and he was now under investigation. "He's panicking," Abby said. "He called me, begging to talk." Mike sensed an opportunity. If Ben was cracking, he might turn on Kate, exposing more of her deception. "Set up a meeting," Mike suggested. "Record it. Let's see what he says." Abby agreed, her voice steady with shared purpose. Their alliance, born of betrayal, was now a force Kate and Ben hadn't anticipated. That afternoon, Mike took Sophie and Liam to soccer practice to keep their routine intact. As he watched them sprint across the field, his phone buzzed with a text from an unexpected source. "Jenna, Kate's sister. Meet me. I know something you don't," it read. Mike's got twisted. Jenna had defended Kate before, but her tone felt urgent. He arranged to meet her at a park bench after practice, keeping the kids out of earshot. Jenna arrived, her hands fidgeting. "Kate's been lying to everyone," she said. "She told me Ben was a one-time mistake, but I found emails. They've been planning a trip together, next month." She showed Mike screenshots from Kate's laptop, which she'd accessed during a visit. The emails detailed a weekend getaway, with Kate promising Ben a fresh start. Mike's jaw clenched. This wasn't just an affair. Kate was building a parallel life. "Why tell me now?" he asked. Jenna sighed. "Because Sophie and Liam don't deserve this. And neither do you." The revelation lit a fire under Mike. He shared the emails with Abby, who was already prepping for her meeting with Ben. That evening, Abby met Ben at a quiet coffee shop, her phone discreetly recording. Ben, disheveled and jumpy, admitted the affair had been ongoing for 6 months. Kate pushed for it, he said, try to shift blame. She said you were checked out. Mike was too. Abby pressed him about the trip, and Ben confirmed it, unaware he was sealing his fate. Abby sent the recording to Mike, who forwarded it to his lawyer. The evidence was now airtight. Mike's next move was bold. He invited Kate to a family meeting at their house, claiming he wanted to discuss the kids. Kate arrived, hopeful, thinking he was softening. Instead, Mike played Ben's recorded confession. Kate's face drained of color as Ben's voice filled the room, detailing their plans. "You're going to leave us," Mike said, his voice cutting. "You lied to my face, to Sophie, to Liam." Kate stammered. It wasn't serious, but Mike shut her down. "Sign the papers, or this recording goes to everyone. Your boss, your friends, your parents." Kate's defiance crumbled. She grabbed a pen, her hand shaking, and signed the divorce papers. "You're ruining everything," she whispered. Mike didn't flinch. "You did that yourself." As she left, Mike felt no triumph, only relief. The kids were still at a friend's house, spared from the confrontation. He texted Abby, "It's done." She signed. Abby replied with a single word, "Good." But the drama wasn't over. The next day, Mike got a call from Sophie's school. Kate had shown up, trying to pick up the kids without permission. The school, alerted by Mike's lawyer, refused to release them. Mike rushed over, finding Kate arguing with the principal. "They're my kids," she shouted. Mike stepped in calm but firm. "You don't get to disrupt their lives because you're losing control." The principal escorted Kate out, and Mike took Sophie and Liam home, their confusion palpable. That night, Mike sat with the kids, explaining that Mom would live somewhere else for now. Sophie's eyes welled up. "Did we do something wrong?" she asked. Mike hugged her tight. "No, Guido. This is grown-up stuff. I'm here always." Liam nodded, clutching his soccer ball. Mike's heart ached, but he knew protecting them meant standing firm. Abby met Mike the next day, sharing that Ben had been fired after the company confirmed his financial misconduct. "He's moving out of state," she said. "Good riddance." Mike nodded, grateful for her partnership. Their conversations were becoming a lifeline, a way to process the chaos. Abby suggested they take the kids to a park soon, a small step toward normalcy. Mike agreed, cautious but hopeful. As he drove home, Mike's phone lit up with a text from Kate. "I'm sorry. I'll do better." He didn't respond. Her apologies were too late, her promises empty. The fight wasn't over, custody battles loomed, but Mike was ready. Kate's betrayal had broken their family, but it had also forged his strength. For Sophie and Liam, he'd face whatever came next. Kate's desperate text lit up Mike's phone. "I'll fight for the kids." After signing the divorce papers under pressure, she was now pushing back, threatening a custody battle that could tear Sophie and Liam's world apart. Mike, fueled by a father's resolve, wasn't about to let her unravel their stability. As a new ally steps in and Kate's lies deepen, the stakes climb higher than ever. Mike, 35, a Portland sports store manager, had already outmaneuvered his wife Kate, 33, exposing her affair with Ben through a calculated restaurant confrontation with Ben's wife, Abby. Kate's signature on the divorce papers was a victory, but her latest move, showing up unannounced at Sophie and Liam's school, signaled she wasn't done fighting. Mike knew the kids, Sophie, 10, and Liam, 7, were caught in the crossfire. Their questions, Sophie's, "Is Mom mad at us?" and Liam's quiet clinging, pushed Mike to protect their fragile sense of security. The morning after Kate's school stunt, Mike met with his lawyer, Sarah, to strategize. "Kate's claiming you coerced her into signing," Sarah said, flipping through documents. "She's angling for joint custody, saying you're alienating the kids." Mike's jaw tightened. "She cheated, lied, and planned to get away with Ben. I've got proof." Sarah nodded, reviewing the emails from Kate's sister, Jenna, and Ben's recorded confession. "This is strong, but courts prioritize kids. You need to show you're the stable parent." Mike doubled down on routine. He took Sophie and Liam to soccer practice, helped with homework, and kept their evenings calm. But Kate wasn't idle. She called Sophie's phone, leaving voicemails promising things will be normal soon. Sophie, confused, showed Mike the messages. "Why is Mom acting weird?" she asked. Mike knelt beside her. "She loves you, but she made mistakes. I'm keeping things steady for you and Liam." Sophie hugged him. but her silence spoke volumes. Abby, now a trusted ally, brought a new twist. Over coffee, she revealed she'd found an email Ben sent to Kate after his firing, begging her to start over in another city. "He's desperate," Abby said, passing her phone. Kate replied, saying she'd consider it if you back off custody. Mike's blood ran cold. Kate wasn't just fighting for the kids. She was still entangled with Ben, despite her apologies. Abby suggested they leak the email to Kate's boss, who valued family-friendly optics at her marketing firm. "It's petty, but it'll hit her where it hurts," Abby said. Mike hesitated, then agreed. "Do it. She needs to face consequences." The email leak worked faster than expected. Kate's boss called her in, and by noon, she was on unpaid leave, pending an ethics review. Kate, furious, showed up at Mike's door during his lunch break, accusing him of sabotage. "You're turning everyone against me," she shouted, drawing stares from customers. Mike stayed calm. "You turned on us first. Those emails were my idea. You wrote them." Kate's eyes flashed with panic, but she stormed out, vowing to fight harder. That evening, Jenna reached out again, distraught. "Kate's spiraling," she said over the phone. "She's staying in my place, talking about taking the kids to her parents in Seattle." Mike's heart raced. Kate pulling the kids out of state could complicate custody. He called Sarah, who filed an emergency motion to restrict Kate's ability to relocate the children. The court scheduled a hearing in 2 weeks, but Mike knew Kate wouldn't wait. He installed a tracking app on the kids' phones, just in case, and asked their school to flag any unauthorized pickups. The tension peaked when Sophie came home from school, pale and shaken. "Mom was outside the gate today," she said. "She wanted me to get in her car." Mike's pulse spiked. He called the school, confirming Kate had been turned away again. He sat Sophie and Liam down, explaining gently but firmly, "Mom's having a tough time, but you're safe with me. Always tell me if something feels off, okay?" Liam nodded, gripping his soccer ball. Sophie whispered, "I just want her to stop." Abby stepped up, offering to take the kids to a weekend park outing to ease their stress. Mike agreed, grateful for her steadiness. At the park, Abby kept things light, tossing a frisbee with Sophie while Liam chased squirrels. Mike watched from a bench, feeling a flicker of hope. Abby wasn't just an ally. She was becoming a friend who understood his pain. When Sophie laughed for the first time in days, Mike caught Abby's eye, and she smiled. It wasn't romance, not yet, but it was trust, something Kate had shattered. The next day, Mike got a call from Sarah. The court had granted a temporary restraining order, barring Kate from approaching the kids without supervision until the hearing. But Kate's next move blindsided him. She posted a public apology on social media, claiming Mike had misunderstood her friendship with Ben and was keeping her from her children. The post gained traction, and Mike started getting texts from mutual friends, urging him to work it out. Furious, he showed the post to Abby, who recognized Kate's tactic. "She's playing the victim," Abby said. "Let's counter with the truth." Mike didn't want a public war, but he let Abby share a vague post about honesty over lies, hinting at the affair without naming Kate. It was enough to shift the narrative, and Kate's post lost steam. Meanwhile, Mike prepared for the hearing, gathering statements from Sophie's teacher and the school principal about Kate's erratic behavior. Jenna, torn but loyal to the kids, agreed to testify about Kate's emails. As the hearing loomed, Mike took the kids to a pizza night, keeping their world steady. Sophie drew a picture of their family, Mike, Liam, and herself, with Kate absent. It broke Mike's heart, but it also steeled him. Kate's lies had cost her their trust, and now she was losing her grip. Abby texted him that night, "You're doing right by them. Stay strong." Mike replied, "Couldn't do this without you." The custody battle was coming, but Mike was ready, armed with truth and a fierce love for his kids. That Kate's courtroom plea was her last stand, a tearful bid to sway the judge and keep custody of Sophie and Liam. But Mike, armed with evidence of her lies and betrayal, stood unyielding. As the gavel fell, the truth would carve a new path for his family, while an unexpected bond with Abby hinted at hope. The final reckoning was here, and no one would walk away unchanged. Mike, 35, a Portland sports store manager, had fought for months to protect Sophie, 10, and Liam, 7, from the fallout of their mother Kate's affair with Ben. With divorce papers signed after a public restaurant confrontation orchestrated with Ben's wife, Abby, Mike thought the worst was over. But Kate's erratic behavior, trying to pick up the kids at school, her social media stunts, and plans to flee with Ben, escalated the stakes. A temporary restraining order kept her at bay, but today's custody hearing would decide the future. The courtroom buzzed with tension as Mike sat beside his lawyer, Sarah. Kate, across the room, looked composed, her eyes fixed on the judge. Mike's evidence was ironclad. Ben's recorded confession, emails about Kate's planned getaway, and statements from Sophie's school about her unauthorized visits. Jenna, Kate's sister, had reluctantly agreed to testify, her emails proving Kate's ongoing deception. Abby, in the gallery, gave Mike a nod, her presence a reminder of their shared fight. The hearing began with Kate's lawyer painting her as a devoted mother caught in a momentary lapse. Kate took the stand, her voice trembling, claiming she'd ended things with Ben and wanted to rebuild for the kids. "I made a mistake," she said, wiping tears. "Mike's keeping them from me." The judge listened, but Mike saw her glance at the evidence stack. When Sarah called Mike to testify, he spoke clearly. "Kate lied for months, planned to leave with another man, and scared our kids with her actions. I'm their stability." Jenna's testimony was the turning point. She confirmed Kate's emails about the getaway, her voice breaking as she admitted, "I love my sister, but she's not putting Sophie and Liam first." The school principal followed, describing Kate's disruptive visits. Sophie's teacher added that Sophie had been withdrawn, asking about her mom's absence. The judge's expression hardened as Sarah played Ben's recording, where he admitted Kate pushed the affair. Kate's composure cracked, her head bowing. The judge ruled swiftly. Mike got primary custody, with Kate granted supervised visits pending therapy and a 6-month review. Kate gasped, her lawyer whispering urgently, but the decision was final. Mike exhaled, relief washing over him, though Sophie and Liam's faces haunted his thoughts. They were at a friend's house, spared from the courtroom drama, but he'd have to explain this soon. Outside, Kate approached Mike, her voice low. "You've taken everything," she said. Mike met her gaze. "You gave it away when you chose Ben." She walked off, her steps heavy, and Mike knew this wasn't closure for her, just consequences. Abby joined him, her eyes soft. "You did it," she said. "They're safe." Mike nodded, grateful for her support through the chaos. Weeks later, life settled into a new rhythm. Mike moved the kids to a smaller house closer to their school, keeping soccer practices and pizza night sacred. Sophie started smiling more, sharing stories from class. Liam, still quiet, began asking Mike to kick the ball with him after dinner. Kate's visits, supervised by a social worker, were strained. Sophie answered her in monosyllables. Liam barely looked up. Mike stayed neutral, encouraging them to talk, but he saw the trust Kate had broken. Abby became a steady presence. She and Mike met for coffee, then park outings with the kids. Sophie warmed to her, asking about her nursing job. Liam taught her to toss a frisbee. One Saturday, at a community picnic, Sophie snapped a photo of Mike, Liam, and Abby laughing over a spilled lemonade. She posted it online, captioning it "Fun Day." Mike saw it later, his chest tightening, not with pain but possibility. Abby wasn't replacing Kate. She was something new, built on honesty. Kate, meanwhile, unraveled. Her job loss became permanent after the ethics review, and Ben had left for California, cutting contact. Jenna told Mike that Kate was in therapy, grappling with guilt. One day, Kate sent Mike a letter, not an apology but a request. "Let me see them unsupervised. I'm trying." Mike didn't reply. He'd consider it when her actions matched her words, but not yet. At the picnic, a neighbor mentioned seeing Kate at a grocery store, looking lost. Mike didn't react, but the news stirred no pity. Kate had chosen her path, and now she walked it alone. Later, as Mike tucked the kids in, Sophie handed him a drawing from school. A family, with him, her and Liam under a bright sun. "You're the best, Dad," she said. Liam nodded, clutching his soccer ball. Mike's throat tightened, but he smiled. "Love you both." That night, Abby texted, inviting them to a movie night. Mike hesitated, then agreed. As he drove to her place, Sophie chattering about superheroes, he felt a shift. The pain of Kate's betrayal lingered, but it no longer defined him. Abby's laugh, the kids' ease around her. It was a quiet start, not a grand love story, but real. Kate's choices had shattered one family, but Mike was building another, stitch by stitch, with truth as the thread. The road ahead wasn't easy, but for the first time in months, Mike felt ready to face it.